Well, then we'll just put that on screen. You can look at my mug and see how's that audio. I got good mic dance on my side. Well, that's all it is. It's tied to my camera. So I want to send them shouts out to everybody. I appreciate all the support that we've had all along. I'm surprised the audio wasn't coming through, but Jen at TJ Hutch, we got to give a shout out to her. She's been with us from the very beginning. Definitely want to say Balls in the Bush. Check out Dred's Morph Market. The Herp and Harbins, they were former guests on this show. They've been great to us. Shout out to the Herp and Harbins. Bash Coder Craig, he's been awesome. Great sounding board, literally and figuratively. Lets me run ideas by him all the time. We got Mills at the Reptile Pit. We've been with Mills internationally here for about 6 months now. Great supporter of us. In fact, I have some of his products to start unveiling that we've got here on the U.S. side. So shout out to Mills in the comments. More Forge, John and the Forge fam. He's helped me a lot with the technical issues on getting this set up and this interface on a new platform. So shout out to More Forge. We're going to be going on their show coming up here in a few weeks. So check us on No Remorse. Dred and I will be on there together. Appreciate you guys. Nikki and Kurt, irresistible. Always very friendly, always very helpful, always responds instantly no matter what my issue is. And she's always sharing the word. So appreciate Nikki and Kurt big time. A big supporter of everyone in this podcast community. So much love to them. The Whiskey Bomb Network. Keys is great. I can pick up the phone and call him, bounce ideas off. But if I had issues, he's always been there for many, many months ago. Check out their content all the time. They're running network now, 7 days a week over there at the Whiskey Bomb Network. Killer shows. I've met some cool people just by hanging out in the comments on their shows. I've met some cool people and made some friends, and can't wait to see them. I'm going to Atlanta in a few weeks here, so be hooking up with some of them down there in the dirty South. And then, of course, Mike at Herb Collectors. Also, anytime I need, I can pick up the phone. That guy's been great. Another great resource. Very experienced voice in this game. So definitely got to give a shout out to him. And I just think all these people have been really special to us. So I just wanted to take some moments and let them have a moment of some of the spotlight. They're not sponsors necessarily of the show yet, but we're just getting off the ground on YouTube, baby. So we'll be rocking and rolling here anytime. Dred, you ready to get Chuck up here and get rolling with Chill Chondros?
Dude, let's do it. Let's do it again, guys. Thank you for all the support and the help out there and coming through and supporting the show today. Let's have a good time with it. And on that note, let's bring on Chuck from Chill Chondros. Let's do this.
Chuck, what's going on, man? How's your audio? Can you hear us okay now?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just trying to get the angle of my camera correct.
Dude, I'm admiring that trophy wall you have back there.
Yeah.
Much love for that.
Thanks, man.
Look at that.
Dude, my grandpa.
I don't think I've
uncle
seen
are
that side of
avid
that wall before. I've only
hunters,
seen
and
the far end.
that's a nice wall.
Thank you.
So you got some sweet equipment over there, man. I had some questions tonight about your podcast before we get into your animals. I really wanted to kind of see what you're doing with your podcast and how it's growing.
It's doing well. The amount of support we've had has been astounding. I mean, it's really cool. I think we have a much different styled podcast than all the others out there. We're a little bit more. We are pre-recorded, so we're the only non-live one, and I think we're just a little bit more low key and quiet. And not that that's a good thing necessarily. We're a little bit more boring than everybody else. For lack of better words, we're definitely a lot more boring than the other shows are. But we try to basically we go all the way from innovating new expert techniques all the way down to we just released an episode on Monday for Husbandry 101. So we're trying to get information. It was Lucas's idea. Lucas is my co-host on the Chondro Lounge on the Reptile Lounge Network, and Lucas kind of had this idea to have these new keeper segments. And I mean, I even said it in the last episode. It's just boring to me. So, but in his defense, it is needed, and it's gotten some really good feedback. And since we've gotten good feedback on like the first basic one that we did, I've been a little bit more motivated to do it because from what I understand, people are learning a lot. So that's the reason for all this. So
right.
Blessed to have a platform. Lucas picked me up off the street. I had retired from podcasting, and it was like Tom. It was like he's like the Tampa Bay Bucks, and he called me up. It was like, "Hey, man, just one more. Like, can you just do it? Like, let's win a Super Bowl together." So
one more W.
Yeah, I was like Tom Brady. He called me out of retirement. Not that I'm that great, but it's the
well, pretty close, bro. Pretty close.
No. I'm not even close. I appreciate the compliment, but. I got
Let me
a lot
see if I can't get this camera right. I want to get you in the feature box and me and my spotlight button here is not. Oh, maybe I can just swipe and drag. No. Dred. Let's see here.
Curious.
Yeah, it's curious. I don't want to be the spotlight, but I want to be on there. Oh, see, now I just want to swap you for me for you.
So happy
either I'm the highlight, or Chuck's the highlight, or Dred's the highlight. We're just over here trying to figure this out, and you know what? It is what it is.
Chuck, keep rolling with it until he gets it what he wants to do. That's kind of how we roll on Naughty. It's just we wing it and just have fun.
Hey, this ain't TikTok, baby. We're not in Kansas anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'm Chuck Amicone. I guess my business or my page or my breeding project or whatever is Chill Chondros. I only keep and breed green tree pythons. I only have one other non chondro reptile, and that's because I just got my kids a tortoise for Christmas. So
Cool.
I have a pretty decent size collection right now with all the babies I produced last year. It's not huge, but it's definitely not an easy task to take care of them all by yourself. So yeah,
No.
I got a few. So I got
What
three
kind of
different.
tortoise did you get? I know you were on the hunt for that for a while.
Yeah, I ended up getting my kids a Sri Lankan star tortoise. So
Gotcha.
Nice.
they're pretty. I mean, they're not cheap, which kind of sucked. But I've always wanted an Indian star, and then I kind of did a little bit more research and realized the Sri Lankans are a little prettier and a little bit more personable. And I wanted something that my kids can just hang out with and take care of, and they're doing a great job with it. I got them snakes, ball pythons that lasted for like 4 weeks. And then I ended up, a good friend of mine gave them to me. I gave them back to him, and I got him the tortoise. So
Did you guys end up talking to Carly? Because I think that's her outlook on him. The pet rock. She's like, meh, no, I don't need him.
no,
I think Jen's catching a bug too down there in Tampa. She's like, meh, Chondros, baby.
exactly. Yeah, I got the ball pythons. I was like, they would. I don't know. I just didn't like them. I mean, not that I don't know. I don't like them.
I think the most exciting part about him,
I get that.
the most exciting part about him is the genetics, man. That's what's so great about it is the genetics.
Yeah, I've never messed around with them. The only animal I've ever bred were green trees.
Yeah, but I mean the artwork you're getting, with ball pythons, you guys are starting to bring a whole lot to the table with the green tree stuff as well. With the way they look, what y'all done over the years. So
I think the lineage and the shed testing and stuff, those kind of concepts are starting to kind of take a little bit of note of the heritage and the bloodlines that exist in the green trees and why that's so important and what you expect to get out of them. I think there is some of that seeping into the ball python culture, at least on the higher end, I would think.
Yeah, with the green trees, I last year was the first year I really experienced. I don't know. I can hear myself echoing from one of your guys' audios. Just
I haven't
FYI.
changed anything.
Testing. Okay, we're good.
you,
I
Any
can't hear
better?
myself.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. So last year was really the first year I got to pick what I wanted to put to what, and like actually kind of be an artist a little bit, I guess, and figure out what I wanted to put with what, and it worked. I think it's working out with the first clutch I had last year. Those maniacs are turning out really. I'm very pleased with the results so far. I'm getting some cool colors coming out of them through the OCC, and then Phil, you're getting a baby from the second clutch that I just don't know what they're gonna do. They could be green, they could be
And
not.
I can't wait. Let me tell you, dude, I'm stoked.
Yeah, they're doing really well. They're starting to turn on. I got this new feeding method down. I got 3 of them that only took 1 meal ever on October 2nd. I just got them on their second consecutive feeding. So it's been huge. I've been getting 3 to 5 problem feeders the last 2 to 3 feeding sessions to take that that won't touch a fuzzy or a pinky at all. And then I do this little method and they bite, wrap, and swallow the pinky or the fuzzy. It's
So
like,
what is the little method? I know some of us in the green sheen game are familiar with chicken gizzards, scenting with chick down, geckos, frozen or live. What was your little trick that got these problem eaters over the hump?
so I kind of, let me see if I can, there we go. I kind of just started, like, I really observed my animals before. I used to rush a lot and not take my time. And now I just kind of let the animals do their thing and really observe. So I was just making some observations and just noticed that sometimes when I would do like a 2 pinky method, where if the snake would bite, wrap, and let go with its mouth, but keep it wrapped, it would immediately eat another pinky or fuzzy.
Yes.
while it's
I have.
still wrapped. So I started thinking, long story short, I started messing around with some things and I got to the end point of I'm getting a tiny, 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 tiny piece of chicken gizzard stuck in their mouth to where they can't spit it out because it's just stuck on their teeth. And it's so small that they don't get nervous and want to spit it. So they
Uh-huh.
start swallowing it. And as soon as they get the last piece of gizzard down their mouth and they go to do their little yawn or their mouth is gaping, I'll just come in with a fuzzy or a pinky, like real slow, and put it like right in their mouth, just the nose. And they're biting it, twisting it, wrapping it, and eating it right away. It's like,
So it's a
Slick.
1-2 combo. You're coming in there with a gizzard and then a
yeah,
pinky
it's
after it. So they're getting a robust meal with very little stress or forcing.
yeah, it's almost. I mean, and I'm still. This has only worked like a few times for me. It's been. It seems like it's not just a one-off. It's worked 2 weeks in a row on multiple animals, so I don't want to say that it's it, but it's working for me right now. So if anybody is having any problem feeders, reach out to me. I'll tell you exactly what I do. I don't mind sharing information. The way I look at it with feeding techniques is if you get one baby to eat it one time in your whole breeding career, it was worth doing it because you got a meal in the
Right.
animal. So I think that's it's pretty neat to see it working. So I want to. I think I could critique it still a little bit more. I'm still in like the developmental stages.
Yeah.
So we're hearing that, the same thing too across, just different type of reptiles, not just changing up prey, but try different type of techniques and different combinations like what you're doing.
Yeah, I think what happens is because that chicken gizzard's so tiny and it's not even close to being like anything what a meal should
Right.
be, that they just swallow it. Doesn't affect them when you just pop another one in there or the fuzzy head. Now you will have ones that won't bite wrap and eat a fuzzy or a pinky, and those um, as they're swallowing the last bit of the chicken gizzard, you could just slowly put another chicken gizzard in their mouth that's small, and they just keep on eating. And it's like a little worm. You just keep on connecting the pieces, and it's just one straight line of chicken gizzards going in, so you can feed
Dude,
them as.
How
that's
many little
awesome.
slivers you go? Like you shooting for 3 or 4?
I usually go. I try to get 2 to 3 of decent sized ones. So now that I'm trying these little ones, I've maybe done 3 like okay-ish size ones, or like a tiny one and then a big one. I'm not. I haven't perfected it yet, so I can't
Right.
really answer that question.
You touched on something there briefly, and I think we should take a moment to toot your horn. Is that when people ask, you give information, and I think that's really something that's great about you just as a person. Not only does it work with your nature on your own podcast, which I just freaking love, but I mean, I've learned so much on that from RAL, the laboratory, to Dan and the importing, and then obviously other breeders, people that have that have been very experienced, or people that have had 1 or 2 successful clutches, and everything in between. Really cool, entourage of guests you've had on there that really cover the whole scope. And people reach out to you, and myself included, man, you've helped me with ideas and stuff. There's notes that I took down like a madman furiously from one of our conversations like back in September about the recognized how there were just localities, and there's always been a scientific battle on nomenclature. Is it going to be a subspecies? Is it not? Is it this? And I don't know that anyone's put in the scientific work to do, a skeletal X-ray, dentation type of a difference. We see express phenotypes, the color, and now obviously we find out what tree or what mountain they're living on. But
Mm.
what do you think's driving that new information? As far as how connected you are and how much you share info with people, what do you think's connecting that information to get it actually in the textbook, so to speak, where people recognize other subspecies?
For the nomenclature and just recognizing them in the wild specifically.
Yeah, yeah. What's changed, or why are more people? I feel like that's getting. It used to just be like, no, no, no. Someone says there's subspecies. There's no such thing, but not. That's an outdated concept. At what point? How long ago did people start to say, there is subspecies. There's these 4. Like your opinion or your thoughts. I mean, where did that come from?
I'm not quite sure on the exact date. I know it was a few years ago. Daniel Natouche was a major contributor to that. He's a naturalist who travels throughout Papua to the Indo farms. He goes into the wild. collects DNA samples from specimens that are jarred in museums, and also goes out and observes these animals and takes samples out in the field as well. So that with his team of researchers is what really spearheaded this whole. They're not just one species; they're now 4 different subspecies, which contain X localities of each subspecies.
That's super interesting, and I think science and like history and stuff, and it's just that means so much going forward, and it's really cool looking at the history of how what they came to America in 1975, I think, for the first time, and then how things progressed in the 80s and the crazy stories about incubation and getting hatchlings and stuff. How they were using glass jars and well, you cock the cork, a little bit to the 3 o'clock, slightly open, and you add a cup of water and you do a rain dance and maybe they'll hatch. And how
Spit
far we've
over
come
your
with like
spit
Big
over
Mac
your left
and
shoulder
stuff.
and throw some salt.
Yeah, it's
If
it's
I'm not
really
mistaken, the first time that they were successfully bred in captivity in the United States was 1976. I believe.
Wow.
I believe that's the first time they were successfully bred and hatched here. If I'm not, but previous to that, it may have been 1975. Um, there was an individual, I don't know his name, but he traveled over to Papua or West Papua and collected a gravid female, and
yes.
apparently she laid a clutch in on the plane ride back, like in between Tokyo and somewhere else, or something along those lines, something silly. But did lay a clutch of eggs on the actual plane on the way back to the U.S. And if I'm not mistaken, they did successfully hatch those. Eggs, but somebody like Patrick Holmes, who knows a little bit more about the history and has all the documentation and literature and stuff to prove all that. He gave some really good information about that, if I'm not mistaken, on GTP Keeper Radio. It may have actually been one of the last episodes, if I'm not mistaken, that they had.
Yeah, Patrick, I like his style. I like his no nonsense. Whenever I see his podcast and like whenever he's been a guest, he's just so I just love his how his experience speaks with, and he's so sure of the way things go. He admits what he doesn't know, but he shares what he does know. But he's really solid as I think as a person with information. I just love the way he presents it. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, Pat's a great guy. He's I think I've asked him for help for the first 2 clutches, possibly even the last one I just had. I think I ask him for help all the time. I always see some funny
as
stuff, and I'm like,
as
hey,
as do I with you. It rolls downhill, man. Some of us
yeah.
are at the bottom of the hill, and some of us are up top, and we bug those people up above us. What can we say?
Yeah, I've been blessed with just meeting really good friends, and Pat and Socrates and Bill and just so many people to mention that have helped me that were in this years before I even started, who I just I reached out to them as a nobody, and now I'm great friends with them. Mark Hager and Ryan Young, Marshall Mendez.
Yeah.
Hanging out with them at Bill's house. This will be the third or fourth year I've gone to Bill's in a row. I forget.
I should be there this year, bro.
That's all
Nice.
he's been talking about.
Well, hopefully I stay there a little bit longer than I had the last few years.
Yeah, you were less than 24 hours on the ground, man. You were in and out. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. It was me and my wife. The last one we just went to, me and my wife flew down. Alex Warren picked us up from the airport. Actually, no, I'm sorry. He picked me up the first time I went, and then he didn't pick us up. He was doing something, and me and her Ubered to his house and broke in his house, and was stealing his beer and shit in his going through his freezer, seeing what he had in there.
That's awesome. I think you guys put up a story on that or something, even didn't you?
I did, because the only thing he had in his kitchen freezer was a thing of $1.84 garlic bread that was from Walmart and a bag of rats. I was like, bro, what the hell is this?
That's that chondro life, man. You got to put your priorities, and you end up, skipping meals, and I can dig it. I know how that is. That's so funny.
Yeah, garlic bread and rats. It's the only thing I found in his freezer.
Well, you've mentioned a ton of really great people, as far as in the community. What about, something I was shocked about since I went to Dallas and ARBC last summer. And I got to meet Sal from Cryptic Chondros, and Ruben, Centenario, and Lupe, and just and Bill, the mayor himself, and just I was shocked because going into this, you're always kind of I feel like as an outsider, oh, the green tree python, it's snobby, it's closed off, and you're not you unless you've got just tons of money, you're not gonna do anything. No one's gonna talk to you. And I found that to be completely the opposite. And I mean, what's your take on it? I think the green tree community is less predatory than the ball python community to some extent. I feel like there are more welcoming arms and people to share information than there are compared to ball pythons. How do you feel? Can you speak to the comparison, or what do you think about the green tree community and their friendliness? Because I think that's a bad rep.
Um, I definitely think within the community there could be some bickering, but nothing ever like super major. But I think when it comes to green tree pythons, like uniting against keepers of other species, like we're snobs. Like we drive nicer cars, you know what I mean? Like in the town of Reptile Town, like we think that our town center's better, our baseball team's better than yours. Like that's just like the whole, it's they've been Chondro snobs forever, right? We're stuck up. But
Right.
realistically, we're great people. I mean, but we just I think where we get that from is because we hold our enclosures to a higher standard with regular or annual NITO testing or 3 NITO tests and quarantine and um I don't know. I don't want to say that we try harder than anybody else. I think it's a lot more involved mentally than almost any species you can keep right now, because not only are they exploding with popularity, but more people are getting them from that popularity, and more people that are grabbing onto their groin and saying, you know what, I'm going to try this new thing, let's figure this out. Like there's
Yep.
got to be a better way. So I think that we we're a lot more invested into it mentally, and we have to figure out a lot more rather than just buying like a whole setup on Amazon and having the substrate, the heat lamp, the light bulb, and everything come all in one package. Like we have to like innovate and make our own egg boxes and make our own lay boxes, and it's almost like a kind of like a lifestyle. Like I talk to my chondro friends more often than I talk to my in real life like best friends. Like it just that's just how it is. Like we just talk every day, and we just spitball and bounce ideas off each other. And I'm always willing to help anybody or answer any questions that anybody has. What's up,
Hell
brother?
yeah.
How you doing? So I don't want to say that. Yeah, we're probably a little bit. We're snooty. We're definitely snooty, but we look more snooty than what we are. Like our what is it? Our bark is worse than our bite, I guess.
Right.
Well, you watch the Facebook groups and you see these people come in. They're like, I just got this new baby at a show at an expo, and I set up this really. I feel like it's the same, and maybe it is a bit in ball python. Different question, but when there's people that first come in, it's almost like you always want to face palm. Like, oh my gosh, you set up this bioactive exoterra with
Oh,
uh,
you're
uh,
getting destroyed. You are
a,
getting
a heat
destroyed. That's
lamp.
I don't even go on the Facebook groups. If you see me on there, the only time I ever post is when I have a clutch or when I have hatching. That is it. I don't answer questions. I don't, because none of them are directed towards me unless it's like tagged in it. I'll be like, message me separately, because someone that's going to like, you don't want to ask questions publicly in that setting. Those like those are like the Philadelphia Eagles fans, like the up, like the upper level where you can see the parking lot, like that guy that just got like banned for life for calling that woman the C word. Like that is what there are some people in those groups
Right.
that just go hard, and I'm like,
Oh, it's
bro,
bad. It's bad.
oh
I've
my
read through them. It's like you're
god,
scared to say something because I mean, you really get crucified. And for
it's yeah, it's
I'll
Yeah,
admit I missed a
I don't
white
want nothing to,
ringer as
I don't
as
want
a,
So,
as
anything to
a
do with
so
those
kind
breeds.
of, kind of on that note, I mean, that gives new keepers and new people that are coming into the reptile game, no matter what you want to do, that leaves a bad taste in their mouth. Seeing that, and it might make them want to step back. Not want to get into the hobby.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, the conjurer community does self police. Like we police ourselves. So especially like if something pops up on Morph Market, like that's where I get involved because I'll see an animal that is clearly not captive bred, and they label it as some kind of a locality cross, and it's clearly is not. And I'll start just asking questions as if I want to buy it, and then the person just is like not answering the questions anywhere even close to accurate. And that's when I give it to them, like, you like you're literally
Yeah.
misrepresenting this animal, and now some unknowing person's going to think that they're getting a USCBB animal because that's what you have it listed as, for significantly less than what it should be worth because of the time and the effort and all of the, everything that the breeder does for it. Not to mention, they're going to try to call you when this thing will have problems. You're not going to be able to answer it. They're going to call me or
So,
somebody
so
else to help them. Like, that's a shit move. Tell them it is an import. You don't know if it was wild caught or if it was captive bred. Represent that thing
right.
accurately. That's consumer fraud. If you do that, they know that
yeah.
they didn't breed that animal. Don't do that to people. I'm a firm believer in. Like, are you allowed to curse on the show, or we kind of try to keep it a little toned down?
I mean,
Don't
my
don't f
goal is to
don't
keep it toned down, but it doesn't matter.
don't f your customers. Don't f your customers over. Don't do that. I hate that stuff. That hurts my feel. Like, that legit. That makes me mad. Like,
Yeah.
when I see that, especially when the people like fraud people out of their money and stuff, like on Morph Market or lie to them. Like, come on, man. That person. That's a lot of money they just spent on that animal. They work hard for that, and they got nothing. Like, they didn't get what they wanted. They got a problem. It just
I
aggravates me, and it's just a bad situation for the animal, or like the person's getting it, intending it to be something else. The person that sent it doesn't know anything about it.
Right. So you touched on it briefly. If anyone that's in the comments or listening tonight, like, talk about why a U.S. captive bred is a better starting. Why anybody's first chondro should never be an import or captive hatch. Just give us the brief overview in case anyone's contemplating it. Like, why avoid it?
So I will never say don't ever get an import as your first snake. There are a few really good people who import the animals, clean them out, know them very well because they've had them for quite a few months. They get a ton of them in the shipments. So they know exactly how to take care of that animal. They know the specific ailments or issues that those imports might be susceptible to over a captive bred animal, because the captive animals can have their fair share of problems, but they're significantly less typically. But I get imports, and I mean, I think I've had quite a few of them, but man, I would say when you get them fresh, like not from somebody who acclimates them, you only got like a 50% shot. Like, that's your best bet. 50% of it making it, 50% of it dying. And if it does make it, you better have on hand all kinds of medications, and you better be able to self-treat, to save yourself the money, because they're not significantly less than some of these USCBB animals out there. So if you do want to save, like, I don't know, 20% or something like that, or 30%, you're going to spend more than that in vet bills with problems.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have somebody to go to if you didn't buy it from a really reliable importer who knows what they're doing. Sorry, I got a commercial going on in
I
the back.
almost worried for a second, like, Chuck, what were you guys watching a little bit ago? But then,
I kind of got nervous myself. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I was like, all right, it's gonna get good.
I was like, what is that attractive woman doing there
I
on the
thought the wife hit stop on that video hours ago. What the hell?
screen?
I thought this is not a good
But
look,
right,
man.
you're hitting the nail on the head there completely. New keepers again, do your research and get educated, and try to find a reputable breeder or someone in that community that will work with you and teach you as well and educate like you're doing, so they can get a good animal and make it thrive.
Right. And then I also implore everybody, you can go to somebody who is a good importer. And I've gone over why, so we'll leave it at
Right.
that. You can. Like, I recommend it if you want some fresh blood, something from imported. Um, it's not a bad decision. It just might be a little bit more work or a little bit more legwork, but make sure you talk to the person importing it. Like anybody who's reputable is going to help you and going to answer all of your questions. Now, is the best choice to get a USCBB and have a breeder who produced that animal, saw it come out of the egg, went through feeding trials, know exactly all of its little buttons on its neck and behind it, um, down its body for if it goes off feed, if it stresses out when it gets to you. So I think that the best choice would be to first of all find an animal that not that you can afford, but that is under what you can afford, so that you can have a few $100 on the side just in case you should have to run out and grab any supplies, because this is not a purchase, it's an investment. If you
Great
spend
advice.
if you spend if you got $1,500 to spend and you already have an enclosure that's set up, no matter what it is, you should only spend about $1,250. Have $250 for a quick vet visit. You know what I mean? Like that's,
Right.
or not even a vet visit. How about, you call your breeder with some sort of an issue and he says, all right, listen, you got to order this, and this, go get this tub, buy this nebulizer, buy whatever, like, whatever ailment you need to cure, you need to have almost like even a little medical kit on site, depending on the age of the animal, whether it be
Right.
a baby where possible prolapse had happened. So you'd want to have, Q-tips, preparation H cream, whether
The
it be
right size Band-Aid.
So
I'm using a small fingernail Band-Aid on that
I've
with the preparation H.
I've heard of people doing that. How I've done it with the two that I had is, I'll get a Q-tip, I'll strip most of the cotton off of it, and it's going to be one of the plastic ones, the plastic cotton, or
Okay.
not cotton swabs, but yeah, Q-tips. And then I'll dip it. It's got to be preparation H cream. Don't make it be like the clear gel. It's got to be the white stuff. And depending on like how big the prolapse is, you first want to put it in like sugar paste, like sugar water, just simple syrup mixed together. Some people put powdered confectioner sugar on there. I know Mark Hager does that. And that's, I guess, soaks it up a little bit better. It's much finer. But basically, the sugar should cause it to, swell down a little bit if it's a pretty extreme one. And then you will basically reinsert the prolapse. And I dip the entire Q-tip in it. I find where the prolapse is. It looks like, God, it looks like one of them little balloons you get from the aquarium that are full of like glitter and like little things, and they like flip out
Oh
of your
yeah, yeah,
hands.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what a prolapse looks like. So then you push it in and it basically, it's like a sock that you took off backwards and you put the sock back in the right way. And then you will hold, once it's all the way in, you hold the cloaca, and I just kind of like twist it a little bit and I pull it right out, and I'll hold my fingers on there for a little while. And then I take my fingers off. It either stays in or it doesn't. If it doesn't, I push it back in. Now, if it does, then there's a whole aftercare technique with putting them in a tub
Yeah.
with no perch.
That's when you phone a
dry paper
friend. I mean,
towel.
that's pretty advanced. That's advanced keeping. I mean, that's not for the faint
Yeah,
of heart.
I phoned Socrates and he sent me a video of him doing it right in front of the camera. So when
Dude,
I did
that's
it,
awesome.
I filmed myself doing the exact same thing as Socrates, and now I sent it to the people that ask me.
Hell yeah. That's paying it forward, man.
Yeah, and then
Jen from TJ
Awesome.
Hutch asked, what's the best bits of advice for a new chondro keeper? And Dredd over there should get a pen and paper, because he's over here been eyeballing chondros for about 6 months or so. He's going to end up jumping into the green tree game, I'm sure, at some point. You know who else I got in there, Chuck? I got Krista.
Boom.
Host of Trap Talk
oh
Girls.
yeah,
I think I got the only teal shirt or whatever. Yeah,
Excuse me.
everybody got black ones, and I got me a teal one. So I do feel special. Shout out to Krista there at Trap
Oh,
Talk on
he's
Sunday night.
special.
Krista's
She's
got an
got a
animal from me.
that I'm getting from you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I converted her. I just go around spreading the gospel of green trees and then talking people off the ledge about how hard they are. And I just tell them, keep them simple, keep them just like this, stick with the recipe. It's not that hard. So what are your best bits of advice for a new chondro keeper? And Dredd's he's attentively listening, I'm sure.
The most important form of advice I have is take your time. Every single time, most of the times, one of these animals that was just doing fine, had some sort of an issue or passed away, was because I rushed. I didn't take my time, and I made a dumb mistake because I wanted something to happen before it actually was supposed to. It looks like we lost Phil there
He
for a
froze
second.
up.
Yeah, he froze up.
Keep rolling with it. Yeah.
So I do believe that the most important thing is to take your time. Secondly, get a really good enclosure. And when I say good, that doesn't mean expensive. You can get the most expensive enclosure for the green tree python and it's going to do great, right? Because it's the top of the line. But if all of you can afford is a $15 hefty tote, call somebody who uses totes. Get the right tote. You can get a $15 tote with $10 Amazon sticky hooks that are not like actual 3M adhesive. They're like this, like the jelly stuff they would put on
Mm-hmm.
like a heart monitor on your chest so they don't stick to
Yes.
the snake, and they're super hard to get off. And then you could just use cheap half-inch PVC perches on top of those, just lightly sanded so that they can rub their skin off during a shed. And then you get yourself a $1.85 6-quart hatchling tote as the water bowl. You don't even need a substrate, but you can use a puppy pad or paper towels or nothing. But I would say don't skimp on heating, which would be like a decent radiant heat panel for like $75 for a tote or like $80 for a tote from Reptile Basics. I know Wilbanks has some pretty good stuff. They're
Yeah.
very expensive though. They're top of the line. And Pro Products makes great heat panels. So don't skimp on your heat panel. And definitely don't skimp on your thermostat. And when I say skimp, I don't mean expensive, right? Like I don't like VE, but they work for just regular adult snakes if you're not going to be cycling them or whatever. I like Herpstat. That's what I use. I use everything Herpstat. However, a good cheap option, there's like a $40 Inkbird thermostat, which is actually 2 zones and can have night drop. So you can go on Amazon and yeah, Mike's a good friend of mine. He's 100% right. Good breeder too. He's had a huge clutch. He got a few really nice red babies for sale. Outcross. Look him up if you're looking for some really decent designer animals at a fairly decent price with good knowledge behind them and a good breeder. But back to what I was saying, these Inkbird $40 thermostats are fantastic, and they have stainless steel probes, just like the Herpstat. They adjust to 1/10 of a degree adjustments rather than a whole 1 degree. The Herpstat does tenths. The Vivarium Electronics VE does whole degrees.
Yeah.
So I would say, do you talk to somebody you're going to get an animal from before you get an animal from them? If you want to go right ahead, like, and just put a deposit down, but they're willing to hold it for you, like my customers with the last clutch I purposely made it so that it was 3 different segments of payments, like spaced over like 6 months, and they had enough time to prepare. It was, easy enough. They knew when everything was coming over the next half a year. They have all their equipment. Everyone's sending me videos and temp gun shots, and I'm recommending certain materials. I have a local customer. I'm going to go help them set up their enclosure in person. I just want to, my customers, I just make sure, unless the person's, someone I know really, really well, has multiples. I want to see your setup. I want to see what all your temps are. I want to see what your perch looks like. I want to see what the cool side is. How big's your water bowl? What's the humidity in there? I want to see temperatures, all over
Right.
basically. And that's not me to be a pain in the ass. That's me because I know that these snakes can go off feed when I send them to you, but I'm sending them to you as a savage feeder. But I want to make sure that that animal has the closest replicated, humidity, temperature, everything, light cycle as they are here, so that when they get to your place, it's so much less of a shock putting them into a new enclosure. The move itself really messes them up. Not to mention, if I'm sending an animal from here to Iowa or Kansas, I live in New Jersey. I'm sending an animal to Ryan Clary from High Voltage Chondros. He lives in California, Southern
Yeah.
California.
He's south of me.
his relative humidity and barometric pressure and, you know, weather patterns and lighting and commotion in the house from, you know, children position where they are in the house. There's so many different factors. I try to get it as close as possible to what I have within reason to make sure that it doesn't go off feed or, you know, it's
Right,
successful.
right. You're right. You're eliminating the stress for better success, as you know. You could say that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
all that ties into that is everything I have for a new chondro keeper. Like, start by picking somebody who has adult animals that you like, and then try to get babies from those adult animals, because that's the best scenario you have of getting a baby that looks like that adult, right? It doesn't always happen that way, but it's the best chance, and at least you have that blood from that animal in your baby, and maybe you can put
Right.
it to another snake that looked like the you know, the parent to that baby from another collection. You get a baby from that. Sorry, my wife just came out.
You're good. You're good.
um Man, we lost Phil forever, huh?
Yeah, we did. He hadn't texted me. Phil, are you with us?
Oh, it says
Blink,
offline.
blink twice. Blink twice.
um my camera dropped. All right.
Yeah.
So
It just like dropped and froze up.
do you have any chondros yourself?
I do not at this point. I've always thought they was cool, but didn't know, a whole lot about them. And by knowing Phil and all that, and he's in it, and I'm learning a lot from him. I feel like what you're saying, you need to get educated and you need to know what you're doing, or like, definitely be working with somebody,
Yeah.
before you bring one into the house. When I do have the spare funds to get one, I'm gonna go through Phil obviously, and whoever he directs me to, and we're gonna make sure
Mhm.
we're set up just like you're saying. That way we know what we're doing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
I
love to
was
have one of the beautiful animals. I really like the Beox. Is one of my favorite looking one.
yeah.
So
See, you know
I
what's
would, I
right.
would, I don't know, just something about him. The first time I seen it, like my buddy's got one, and he's got it in a really nice focus cube habitat. Uh, when I walked and seen that snake in person, I was like, "Whoa, this is awesome." Yeah, that Beox is, yeah,
Yeah, so
that's what I'd like to have.
I'm mixing Biakin with some cool looking, like decent looking locality animals, and that's the clutch that I have that's going through the OCC right now. And man,
Dude.
once Phil comes back on here, he's got
Yeah,
to.
he's gonna have Ryan's gonna have some heat coming down there here in the future. So
Yeah, I'm super excited
no,
to
no
see.
doubt, man. I can't wait to see some of that stuff. So we want to know. Let's get into some pairings and stuff like that. So what do you have coming next as far as pairing goes? More maniacs or more? You gonna bring in something new at some point that no one ever seen?
That's the plan. I mean, I would like to do that. God, my collection right now of like breeders right now is I got I have a roux outcross, a few Beox, Maniquaries.
That's Phil's
Um,
favorite, the Maniquaries.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
I like Maniquaries a lot. Um, yeah, I think I have Maniquaries, Arus, um, Beox. I love Beox. I have a few Beox, and then all my babies are just combinations of those.
What you
So I
guys
have,
keeping in the comments? Let us know. That way he knows how to step his game up.
yeah,
Well,
I like Jayapuras a lot. I want to get my hands on another Jayapura. Um, I think with the unbroken dorsal, I think it would pair really well with like a really solid looking red neonate like female Biak. If I get a nice male Jayapura that was a yellow, um, I noticed, or it's known that the yellows typically on average have a little bit more of a like an electric or cyan blue to them rather than like that powdery blue. I mean, in extreme cases, the reds can
Right.
get that.
Right.
But I took just a male with like an electric blue dorsal going down the back that was a yellow neonate Maniquari, and I put him to a female Biak that was a red neonate that has yellow splotches all over her, and the babies are turning out really cool.
Mm.
They're those maniacs are turning out really neat.
I tell you what. I tell you what. When they're red like that, that is awesome. If you could keep one red.
Yeah, I have a couple weird red scales on one of the maniacs, and I can't figure out what it is. It just keeps
So
on getting bigger, but it's burgundy like it when it was a baby.
yeah. Localities or designers. What's your preference and why?
I don't own any designers. I have all localities.
You're all locality.
I'm making locality crosses, which hopefully, if I can get down the line, they eventually would become designers, but that's far, far away. So for right now, I would like to make just wild locality crosses and get as close as I can to having just a ridiculously thick blue dorsal going down the back of all my animals. I don't care what color baby they are, as long as it's a screaming blue dorsal into adulthood, down a green snake, and whatever other colors show up, cool. I don't need them.
Yeah.
Just blue down the
Dang.
back. No one will ever be upset if I sell them a regular, a snake with a
Oh
thick
no,
blue
no. Why
dorsal
would
stripe.
you? Why would you be? No doubt. Okay.
Yeah. So I think some of these some of the designer lines are hit or miss with the babies you get. Sometimes you could just get a plain green snake. When if people are paying locality cross prices, which are not very expensive, my snakes I think are very entry level. They might be getting something cool. I don't know. I like
Hey.
taking new blood and just playing with stuff that no one ever touched before.
You're right.
Oh yeah, exactly. So when you pair, like how do you pair? You're running one male to one female, and that right a season, or does he get another female? I mean, how do you do that? Get into that a little bit.
So I don't have a breeding season. I breed year round. All my ovulations have been in different months of the year, and actually 3 different seasons. um, so what I do is I keep my room pinned at like 70, 71 degrees. It's completely shut off from my house HVAC. I get some heat seepage in there, but I have a window unit that's thermostatically controlled and it runs year round. It's literally it was -2 out this morning here, and
Dang.
the air conditioner still plugged in and still cycles the air through it just to double check to make sure the room doesn't get too hot. Um,
Wow.
so I keep my room at 70, 71. Uh, all my
Same.
adult enclosures that are breeders, the heat panels are on heat for 12 hours at 84 degrees on the hot side. And then they shut down to night drop, which goes to 77 degrees on the hot side for another 12 hours. By doing that, I don't touch the temperature when I breed them. I don't have to touch the temperatures. The males are always cooled, and the females kind of cycle more times than once a year. They do like 2 to 3 times a year. They'll produce egg follicles.
Do you pick a certain one that's your favorite? Like why do you
Yeah.
pick one of those 2 or 3 out of the whole year? What makes you choose one pairing over or what time to pair over the other one?
Like I have a pair together right now, but I know I can put another female with another male. But I want to be breeding, incubating, or establishing babies at all times until the end of time. I want to always be doing something with it. I don't want to have 5 pairs together, 3 clutches of eggs, 42 babies all at
Yeah.
once. No. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
one pair at a time. Craft pairings, like just hand picked. I like this one. I like that one. I want to see what they'll make.
Right. Quality.
Yeah, and
Well,
keeping
also
the babies for a long
diversifying your
time.
workload. I mean, that's smart. If you're dealing with pairings and watching for the male safety, watching their food intake, their behavior, are they locking? That's one project. Then incubating is another project. And then establishing neos and getting them to eat is another project. And perhaps the hardest of the whole breeding process is the final one. Would you agree? getting babies established? No.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's the most time consuming. The hardest is artificial egg incubation
Okay.
because you can kill those eggs in a matter of hours if you do something wrong.
We'll talk about that a little bit as far as incubation of the chondro eggs.
They're see, I kind of I've done it a few times, so I got almost like dialed in, just tweaking a couple things, but they are finicky. Like I've had issues with, two of my clutches. One clutch I had an issue with was the Maniac clutch. Is they were I thought I had everything dialed in. The box was solid, good to go, and I didn't crack the lid for so long that I was like, damn, I'm gonna open them up like and just let them breathe a little bit. They've been sealed up for 36 days, and I opened them up, and they were 84 degrees, or I'm sorry, they were 87 degrees at what they were being incubated at. And when I opened them up and I left them open for like 8 or 9 minutes, the ambient room temperature air of 70 degrees got into that box, and then I sealed it while it was still in the room and put it back into an incubator with a chamber that was 87 degrees, and the eggs started to sweat because it was super cold. It was super cold air as
Oh,
opposed
that
to
fast.
what their actual core temperature was, because they're little heat sinks. They're liquid.
Yeah.
They're holding on to heat.
Oh, wow.
So they started to sweat, and then they soaked up their sweat, and they all started to window. They all started turning gray, and I'm like, what the hell did I just do?
Really?
Yeah, so I called Pat for that one, and man, I just had I had the entire egg, and I was like going like this with Lotrimin foot powder over the whole entire egg, every single one, just basically just covering them and
Trying to dry it up. Yeah.
trying to draw it out, and it worked. I had 10 eggs. One died full term that I thought looked funny anyway, and then another one crawled. No, I'm sorry. One died full term, and then I had an incubation issue because I lost power early on, like on day like 9 or 10 or something. I forget which day it was. So I had one red baby with one eye and one red baby with no eyes. And the no eye one I gave to my buddy who runs a couple vet hospitals, figured he'd give it the best care. I was not going to sell that animal. Unfortunately, it passed. And then actually a coworker of mine, a good friend of mine, he wanted to get into them, and he loved the reds. And I was like, you know what, man, this one takes a cyst like in 2 seconds. It'll just eat it. Do you want to hand feed this snake? I said, it's a beautiful red neonate Maniac. It just has one eye. He's like, oh my God, I would love it. So he just had a baby girl. So he's stuck at home anyway, not at work. So he just gets to look at that snake all day, and
Dude, super awesome.
he
And
loves
it's
it.
doing just fine. It's as long as someone took the time to get it to feed properly, it's doing just fine.
Dude, it's almost a year old.
Yeah.
It's doing great. It's just
That's
tiny.
awesome.
That's all. I think it's like 27 grams or 25 grams, and its siblings are like 100. But it's eating chicken gizzard slivers, 2, 3 at a time, and pooping fine. It just doesn't want to strike, bite, and wrap. It just, once it gets it popped in its mouth, it just starts eating it real quick. I was like, dude, I mean, if you want to give it a good life and hand feed it, that's awesome. I was like, I don't want anything for it. I just want it to live a better life than what it's living here, because
Right.
I have I have right now, I have 25 neonates that I'm caring for. That's a lot of poop, bro. That's a lot of,
Because
a
they
lot of,
go often.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like every 2 days, and it smells like fish or
Oh,
crab.
it stinks.
It doesn't smell very good. It's terrible, man.
So who's some of the places you like to get supplies from? I know you're a big equipment guy. Like you say, you get stuff, you invest in a good heat panel and a good thermostat, and you brought up some of those brands. But let's say someone is not entirely aware of them. Do you point them in a direction of like, go to this person for purchase, like David Brahms or Tyler's Green Trees or In a Box, 3D Chris? Or do you point them in a direction, or talk about Cambro tubs and why those are so special? Or like what's some brand name things? If someone says, I want to do this right, I'm just going to get 1 or 2 animals and do them really well, I'm going to spend the money for the right equipment, where do you point them to if they come to you with that eager attitude?
I point people in directions that I think is appropriate for them when they tell me what they want. So if you came to me and you said, I want top, like you're asking, top of the line. You got my sponsor, Jordan from Heartland Reptiles, with the indestructible enclosures that he has that are powder coated and stuff. And I have one of those, and I'm trying to. I've never had a metal enclosure. I'm like, dude, this thing could go through effing war, bro. Like, this is crazy. So he's got some great stuff, and he'll work with you, and his stuff will outlast you. Like, they're made they're made from like some kind of outdoor storage containers that can just last outside for years and years and years. So it's pretty incredible what he's done with the company he works for, and then has made his own enclosures out of it. And he sends it with nice thick tempered glass. And I got it. I got to get I got to get it dialed in. I haven't put an animal in there yet because I'm still testing it out, because it is a much different enclosure than what I'm used to using. So I want to make sure it's decent. He sent me a nice one. I think it's a 30 by 18 by 18. So I'm putting a smaller female in there. Sorry, my father.
The material and the air gap and the insulation that's built around it when it comes to the Heartland ones, I was definitely curious as to how that does with heat. How it holds heat, stability. I mean, how is your experience so far?
So I haven't quite got it dialed in yet. I was going to try heat tape on the back wall. That didn't quite work out. So I think I'm going to go with a 28 watt heat panel rather than a 40. I don't know yet, though. I still have 3 enclosures I need to build behind that one. So I can't give you. I haven't put anything in it yet. I haven't really put like the heat. I was thinking I want to go with maybe a Wilbanks. Like, I want to try it. I don't know. I'm throwing ideas around. I haven't quite decided what I want to do like in there yet. So I haven't gone too far.
Yeah.
There's other great enclosure companies out there, PVC enclosures. I have all Toad Ranch behind me. I got them before Jordan sponsored us.
Chuck got that classy stuff. He got that there Toad Ranch.
Nice.
Toad Ranch is very aesthetically pleasing, and I clearly our centerpiece of your display room, which is very cool.
Yeah, I just got off the phone with Universal Rocks today. I was talking to them. I might get their sand or Castle Stone or something like that. Fake rock backgrounds in there. I'm not sure yet. I've been kicking around the idea.
Good. That'd look cool.
Yeah, so I'm still thinking. I don't know. It's not really cheap, but it's not like super expensive. But I got some Focus Cube stuff. I haven't even tried the Focus Cube stuff out. They're just empty enclosures right now, but I have animals that I need to move out of quarantine that have graduated. So the Cambros are great. I have a Jim Sharphorn PVC enclosures.com. He retired. That's a really nice enclosure. It was for a great price. But he's since retired. But the Cambros are great. I use the Cambros. I'm breeding in a Cambro right now. I have a smaller female and a similar size male, and they gave me my first clutch of maniacs in there, and now the repeats together. And I was just checking my camera here to see what the heck they were doing, and I realized I left my light on, so I had to turn the light off on my camera from my.
You guys have heard of a smart home? Chuck's over here got some smart snakes. He's got that shit dialed in.
I got to shut the damn room light off, but yeah, I got the Cambros are great. They hold great humidity in them. They're really pretty. And I just build PVC perches, which are, they just sit in the corners of the indentations on the Cambros, and they drop down a little bit. And there's 2 perches going. All the arms are actually that go on the side of the enclosure are glued. And then the 2 perches in the middle are not glued because they get dirty and nasty if they're sanded and stuff. So I can replace the centers. But they cost like $10 a perch to make. Like, they're so inexpensive to do. I have 2 hatchling toads that were built for me by a buddy of mine from Pythonic 2020, Sam Craver. He's a ball python guy.
Interesting.
And I built a grow out rack, but it's a modular grow out. So I can put anything that I can fit in there. It's just a little it's like a 4 cube organizer. If you've ever seen it's like a white cross, and it's hollow all the way through from Walmart for like $50.
Yep.
And then I took a 2-foot piece of heat tape and put it on the back, and then I got compressed hardboard, which is like that real thin stuff you put on the back of IKEA furniture.
Yep.
Put that in there, hooked up a thermostat, and boom, now I have a heated back wall with a little, just a space. So I could put a grow out in there, a real tall one that latches and just slide it in. Or I have those real nice clear shoe storage containers that they sell at Walmart. They're like $5 or $10 for two of them.
Yeah, they're like really clear acrylic, right?
Yeah, and they have
those are nice.
holes. They have holes drilled on the
They got
sides
holes
already.
in them. Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah, so when I put them in there, they didn't quite like go all the way to the top. So then I went to Home Depot and I just got really cheap styrofoam, and I folded it, doubled it up, and then I made a square that was similar, like the exact same size as the void out of I just covered it with white duct tape, and I slide it right in as a spacer so they can't push the lid up. And that was probably the most
I remember you telling me about that rack, and that's worked out. You've been really happy with the results. When you do back heat versus belly heat, which do you prefer? Do you find any subtle differences that are an issue?
I don't have any belly heat. I only have over the head radiant heat panels, and then I have heated back walls.
Gotcha.
I don't do belly heat. I also use Hefty sells a really cool tote, 72 quart Hefty tote. It's called a high rise.
Yeah.
Like they're like blue or like mine are teal because they're older, but the blues, they go up. So they hide the profile of like a Reptile Basics heat panel. So I have 28 watt Reptile Basics heat panels recessed into that lid. And then I have thermostat. So I have a Inkbird 2-way thermostat with 2 probes. So a $40 thermostat runs 2 tubs at the same time in my quarantine. And so actually I ran 3 or 4 at one time before in my quarantine when I got a little overloaded or got a little happy. I drank a lot that week and I just started buying shit.
I've got one of those Inkbird thermostats. I had a hard time dialing it in. I just got it recently. I've been tinkering with it some as far as like night drop and getting the programming because the menus are not plain English at all as you go through it. But I know which one you're talking about by Inkbird, and I hear nothing but great things about them. I'm still toying around with mine.
I never tried the app because I don't know how to work computers. I'm an idiot when it comes to that.
No, it's just on the module, just on the unit itself.
Oh, you got to watch a YouTube video or look it up online, and they'll tell you what all those weird ass. It's like 2 numbers or 2 letters, and it's like code for some. But when you figure it out, like because it's one button to scroll through all those weird looking settings.
Yes.
Yeah, if you look it up online real quick, it's so easy. Or if I think I might have kept the pamphlet. I could send you a picture of it.
Yeah, I got the pamphlet and I looked up some things. I still struggled, but that's just me.
Right. So I don't use them on my breeder animals or anything that I'm keeping like that's done through quarantine is on Herpstats. I got one baby rat because I didn't have a Herpstat 1. I have a random Herpstat 4 that I haven't hooked up yet. But I put a VE on my one hatchling rack. Other than that, everything's on Herpstats, including behind me. You can see them right there.
Oh yeah.
And then the Inkbirds run my quarantine, but like you were saying, night drop, setting it up. I do not night drop my quarantine animals. My animals in quarantine do not get a night drop. They're constant heat while they're in quarantine, and sometimes I'll actually bump it up a degree, and that's only to basically ward off any RIs that are coming on from the stress of the move or whatever it may be. So
you're running them at like 85, 86 for a high then, and no night drop. Is that right?
80, 85, no night drop. But I make sure that, I've already dialed them in. I get the Govee receivers, the ones that the 3 little tiny white ones. They're like, I don't know. They're like that big. Like, that. So there's 3 of them. They're wireless. They're Wi-Fi. And there's a Wi-Fi gateway like hub that plugs into like your wall or power strip. Dude, I could pick those things up and walk them all around my house. And it always like basically connects. Like I always have a temperature reading in my house.
I tried a new product, a competitor to that from Amazon, and it was a nightmare. It would not work. I sent them back. I'm going to have to step up and do Govee. The only thing I'm just going to have to.
Sensor push is good. They're just a lot more expensive. I heard they're a lot more accurate. Lucas uses those things. I just have so much Govee shit. I I honestly think I think I counted. I'll show you. It's a sickness is what it is. This is all my Govee shit. Oh my God. There we go.
There you go.
Oh dang!
I
Really
fuck.
went bright.
I can't. It's on the screen.
Yeah,
It just won't pick it up. I fucking give up.
At a certain distance. It
I
looks like
have.
you have at least 16, at least.
I don't even know how. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So I have. So on the Govee app, I have 16 different devices, and they range from hygrometers, um, thermometers, outdoor Govee lights that dance and stuff during the Christmas and all.
dude, that's awesome.
I have a Govee light in my snake room that I can turn on and off. I can change it from red to green to white, like depending on what I want to be doing in there.
Yeah.
I have smart plugs on these enclosures behind me. Like I could just tell it to shut off. It turns on and off at 7, 12 hours. So I got everything kind of automated because I'm really busy. So I try to set it and forget it with everything and only like touch them or have to change poops when I need to.
Have you had any get broke from urates? Someone says, Eric here at PJ's says he had some that they got urates on them and it ended up not making the Govee work anymore. Have you had that issue?
No, I don't really keep him in there with the animals, like the adults. I I get those. I think Night Ease or Night Eyes has those reusable twisty ties. If you've ever seen the tube of those things,
Yep.
and I'll just take one of those receivers and I'll put it right on top of the perch where the snake's going to be sitting, and I'll twisty tie it and I'll put it in all different positions, like every couple of days before I get a snake in there, and I'll just be able to like I'll know what day I change it, and then I can go back and check my charts, and I could see daytime highs, nighttime lows over a couple days for each position on each all the perches. Like if I'm doing something crazy and new, I don't do that every single time because I know they're already dialed in. But if I'm trying, like if I just pick up a new tote or I'm trying a new heat panel or new position or a new probe placement, I'll go above and beyond to make sure that there is zero chance that any sort of like issue that I'm going to like be faced with is ever going to become an issue for the snake, like temperature wise.
Right. Right. That makes sense. And I think the position from like ball python to chondro, like what you're saying, and tying it up on the perch, keeps it up out of harm's way. Whereas in a tub, more of a lateral ground level animal, is more of a risk of going to the bathroom on it.
Shoot, I throw the Govies on the floor too. I throw the Govies on the floor on the coldest side.
Huh.
I just want to know what everything is. I just want to, I want to make sure they can get into the low 70s at night on the cool side. I want to make sure they can get into the high 70s on the cool side during the day. I want to make sure they can hit 84 on the hot side. So, during the day, it's a lot of thinking. And then it comes up every freaking episode.
I didn't bring it up. I didn't. I wasn't going to pick the scab, Chuck. Now you've talked about it.
No, just buy good equipment. Just buy a good, good equipment that is, if it's not calibrated scientifically, buy something that's nice. It doesn't have to be the most expensive thing. Buy something nice that you're reading the temperatures with, and
like Chuck's favorite temp gun. This is what he swears by. He loves these
listen.
Things. Don't let him tell you any different. This is.
I have that one. I have that one. It's good for quick stuff, but like when I'm doing my hardcore like watching, when I'm like dialing all my stuff, I just scan that whole enclosure with my temp gun. And
for anybody that doesn't know, Chuck gets a lot of grief, especially from Lucas. About his high end as his temp gun, and then we got your boy Ryan that I got kind of introduced to by proxy through you, Ryan out there, high voltage chondros, in his line of work. He's a lineman. That's the name of his chondro game. He's a lineman out there, so he's got some equipment from work, and is your line of work too. You guys are familiar with some of these things. And so you saw the need. I know people pick on you, and I know I've poked funny as well, but you kind of see the need with a professional background with the right equipment being, the best thing possible. Makes a huge difference.
So I'm also a realtor on the side from my regular job that I could use it at my regular job. I mean, I have used it, but thank God I've never had to actually find anybody with it. But it's basically for your listeners that don't know, the brand is Teledyne FLIR, but it's FLIR. It's FLIR camera. My
Yep.
specific model is the TG267. It is a thermal imaging camera, but it also has an additional camera built in. It's a real camera, and you align the images, and basically, rather than just seeing a heat signature, you can actually see like words on like a switch panel if you're in like a so you could see both. You could see the heat, but then you can also read somebody's shirt, or like I said, read anything. So when I scan the enclosure, I can see everything live time, all different colors. And I am a realtor also, and I used it, a few months ago. I used it in a house I was showing to a client, and she was like, "Man, I really wonder if this wall is load bearing or not. I really would like to knock that out." And I was like, "I got my thermal imaging camera." So I ran it on the ceiling, and I saw right through it because the ceiling was colder where the air ducts were running, and the air ducts obviously run through rafters. And if you know anything about construction, you know how to determine whether or not a wall is load bearing based off of what way the rafters are going. So I was able to see through the actual sheetrock and tell her, like, look, like I sent her, like I showed her pictures and she was looking at it. You could see the base. It was pretty neat.
Saving
It's
the
a
day once again.
it's a nice piece of equipment. Like I've found 3 different leaks in my house with that. Like I did some new construction in my kids' playroom. I was able to wait to seal up the window when I thought that there was a little bit of mold in one of the corners of the sill. So I waited to seal it up, waited till it rained, and dude, I ran that temp gun, and boom, I was able to see it instantly. And I was like, all right, that is exactly where it's leaking because it's nowhere else. And I just went outside, and boom, it was a cracked bead of caulk.
See,
It's pretty
Nice.
neat.
there's Ryan right there coming through for you, coming to bat.
Yeah, Ryan's is a lot more expensive than mine, though, man. Like Ryan's is like a few
Well, to
thousand.
be fair, he's not looking for, he's dealing with some life and death, I'm
Hmm.
sure.
Oh no, we
He
lost him
jacked up
again.
again.
Bye, Phil.
Bye, Phil.
He's offline. What else you got? You have a some other topics you want to cover? Do you have a list or an outline or anything like that?
Well, we kind of wing it. He does better than I do.
All right. Well, we were on.
So here's something that's pretty good. That buddy of
So,
mine's
yeah,
got
There he
okay.
is.
He's
He's
got
back.
that Biok.
dude,
Whatever. He's got him in a nice focus cube. Looks like an appropriate size.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling me he wants to move it up to a bigger enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are your issues with as
Look
far as
at
that
this.
enclosure sizes with the
what's up,
green trees?
Lucas?
As far as feeding and stuff like that. How much more does that stress them out? I
Are
mean,
are you saying that he may be moving it up into too large of an enclosure too quickly?
no, because he's pretty good size. It's an adult. He's pretty good size.
It's a
I don't know,
Biak, you
whatever
said,
that
correct?
focus cube, what is that thing? Probably a 20 by, I'm not sure.
20, is it a 24 cube?
Something like that. Yeah, like a 24
Behind
cube. I think
behind me,
he's wanting to go into something like a 36, maybe.
it's a
Is
male.
I'm not sure.
I would get I would get a gram weight on the animal. I never really ask how long they are, but if you can give me a gram weight, I know how big that animal is. Like I could figure it out because I have so many different size animals here. Um, I would say realistically, I mean, my personal opinion and probably what I'll be doing is 2 foot cubes are good for pretty much anything other than really, really big females.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
like a perfect example, my female upstairs that I'm breeding, she's small. Oh, excuse me, I got the hiccups. I apologize. She's she's small, but she's bigger than what she was last clutch. So she's probably in the 550 range, 550, 600 grams. Um, if she's sitting on a branch, like, about that big, coiled up, um, like halfway over.
Right.
She's in a 26 by 18 by 16 Cambro, and I'm breeding her in there with another male. They don't
Right.
need that much space, but is bigger better? Yeah, of course. The bigger enclosure you can give your animal within reason, is the best. But I would probably say ideal size would be a 2 foot cube for a male. Um, a smaller female would have no issues in it, but a 3 by 2 by 2 for a big female is
Would
probably
would
great,
be
honestly.
okay.
But it's more expensive for a bigger enclosure. It's more expensive for a bigger heat panel. So that's
Yep.
another, and not to mention, people don't have a lot of room where they keep their pets. That's a big enclosure. 3 by 2 by 2. The biggest part about 3 by 2 by 2 is the 2 foot depth. It takes so
Yeah.
much, like, floor space away and really shrinks the room that I would say if you have the space, do it. There's a lot of, I mean, a lot of my friends put all their animals in 3 by 2 by 2s, an entire wall of them, males, females, it don't matter. And that's awesome that if you have that type of
Okay.
space. But realistically, I would honestly get a gram weight on it, buy a $30 gram scale from, what is that,
He's
reptilebasics.com.
got we got all that, but I was just curious, and I was like, well, isn't this fine? This should be okay for him for a long time. And he's like, oh yeah, that's fine, but I would like him to go to here, and then just me in my head going, okay, transition him into a bigger enclosure like I do with ball pythons. I understand that game with them, so I'm just trying to relate that to the chondro thing, and like you're saying, if you go too fast, then that'll definitely stress them.
Yeah, I mean, I actually I pushed these animals a little bit down here. I only have one left from my first clutch. I put them in there when they were really really small, and they were fine. Like they were. I know I could have thrown them right back upstairs into the totes, but I took them straight from 6 quarts down to here just to give it a shot. Like I have the
How did
foliage.
that work? They didn't floor on you?
Now the one ate with an hour after I put him in there.
Whoa. Okay.
But
Wow.
these are animals that were, I don't know, a year old, I guess, but they were small. Like they were 120 grams. Like that's definitely a grow out size animal. I just wanted my animals down here, and I have all this foliage and stuff, and my perches aren't really big. So I was like, I'll give it a shot for a couple days. If they ground themselves, I'll just put them back to where they were. They were already
Right.
beast feeders eating large mice anyway. So, or I'm sorry, I think they were eating, I think they were eating large mice. I forget. They may have been a little bit more than 100, about 120 grams. I don't know. They were
Yeah,
small.
Santos here has got a great question.
How many grams you consider a big female to be? What is the lightest grams weight for an animal to be in a 3 by? Any adult animal can live in a 3 by 2 by 2 as long as it doesn't ground itself. They're all different though. Some of them don't like enclosures. Some of them like tubs. Some of them will ground themselves in a beautiful enclosure that costs all the money in the world, and you put them in a tub that you just took your Christmas decorations out of, and they love it. I would say a big female, 1,000 grams is probably that line. I mean, I think more recent keepers are not keeping them as big as the old school guys were. We're just evolving, I guess, as keepers and finding out new information. It's been documented a while by Daniel Natusch himself that I think most breeder size females in the wild are 400 to 600 grams. He's found them up to 1,000 on Biak, but most of the average breeders are 400 to 600 grams.
Okay.
So we consistently have females that are in the 900, 1,200, 1,400 gram range, these large females. Were they supposed to be that big?
But
I
that's the
mean,
difference of captivity versus wild.
yeah, but the thing is, in the wild, they're not getting them. Some of them are coming out of the wild 1,000 grams.
Okay, right. Yeah, there you go. You said that
So,
too. So,
so is it locality specific? But when I say locality, I don't mean just Biak. I mean the snakes in a 2 to 3 square mile range or a 1 square mile range that are all line and inbreeding with themselves naturally. Are they just naturally a larger genetic animal? Are there smaller micro localities that are just
right.
they're just, I mean, me and my wife, I'm 5'6", my wife is 5'2". Guess what? My kids are not going to be 6'1", right? Because two short people made babies. Now they're going to be short. When you have, my buddy and his wife are both over 6 feet, their kids are very tall compared to my
Yep.
children. So we're not like it is still is basic biology, right? Like two big people make big people. Like so, I think that these animals are the most progressive species to keep and breed, and being as the where they live is the most untouched, primitive area in the world. Really, I mean, there's tribes that have never seen like other than themselves. They live
Uncontacted completely.
Yeah, no contact.
uncontacted. So imagine the snakes that we don't even know exist yet. They're finding new species all the time in Indonesia. And what's the other one? What's the other area they have? Borneo. Like it's there's just
Borneo,
real.
Borneo, unfortunately, is really going to deforestation with the palm oil and stuff. They've
Yeah, the palm
really
oil
hurt
farms.
Borneo and their orangutan ecosystem there big time. That's unfortunate.
But there's limited resources there, and it's so wilderness that you can't get there because literally the best way there, the only way there is a hollowed out tree. Like you're riding a hollowed out tree down a river with the locals. Like that is how you travel there. So I think that the resources are so limited there. And, I covered it in a previous podcast I was on. Was one of the co-hosts had asked me, so green tree pythons primarily are on the lower portion of the canopy and they feed on rodents on the ground, right? They're not bird eaters. And I said, no. If you put a bird in front of a green tree python in the wild, I guarantee it eats it.
My biak eats 1 to 5 day old chicks. Like
right,
but
but
it goes back to rats too. It does all of it.
Yep. I like everyone's like, oh well, they're only on the the lower portion of the canopy. Well, who's in the upper portion of the canopy to say that there's not a crazy green tree python that only eats birds and bats?
Right.
There has to be
Right.
one of those in the world. Like there has to be one that went nuts and just doesn't like going down to the bottom. Just like some snakes, like they act weird in a tub and they act differently in a PVC enclosure.
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of there's a lot of answers we don't have, and we only come up with answers based off the limited information that we have. And I think it's kind of reckless to say like it's 100% no or 100% yes in either direction with some of the subjects, because I think that there's always an exception to the fact.
Okay.
What do you think about feeding GTP crested geckos? I think it's probably closest to what they're having in the wild. That's my personal opinion. Crested geckos are captive bred. They're a little expensive, but if you could breed your own crested geckos and you could start them out on that and then transition them properly to a rodent prey item other than pinkies, like, once they're big enough, I think that's great. However, maybe down the line we find out that there's some sort of inheritable virus that they get from crested geckos, that crested geckos have the antibodies to deal with and just live with their entire lives. And because they come from New Caledonia, which is not PNG, it's off the
It's
East
off.
Coast.
It's outside New Zealand. It's east of New Zealand.
Yeah,
Out there, way off the mainland of Australia.
Yeah, it's not on the other side of the world, but it ain't close. Like the crested geckos
No.
ain't swimming there to get eaten. So
No.
maybe the green tree pythons aren't built to handle whatever is beneficial to those crested geckos or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. We feed them lab rats, so who's to say that crested geckos is the best diet for them? I think the best diet for them is what they eat in the wild, the little native skinks and stuff, but nobody can get their hands on that.
Right.
But crested geckos, that's a great alternative.
Right.
I've never resorted to them. I would if I had to, if I had the means.
I agree.
I hate to give you not yes or no answers, but I don't think there's any yes or no answers. It realistically is.
There's not any. You're right.
No, it's just based on my personal opinion on keeping green tree pythons is you got to find people that are doing the things that are convenient for you. There have been things that advice I've received from my mentors where I'm like, I can't do that. I won't be able to sleep at night. I'm not comfortable. Let me do a little bit more research and figure something out that's maybe pretty similar to what they're doing, but works for my lifestyle with kids and, 2 jobs or whatever.
Right.
It's you got to like the reason I say green tree python guys are snooty is because I just think that we have to think more. So maybe some people think they're higher than other
Well,
keepers
it
of
comes
other
down to reading
species.
your animal. That's a huge part of it, and I think it
But
goes
most
across
people
all
don't.
reptile keeping, but you have to be finely in tune with reading your animal and its behavior, I think, when it comes to chondros.
Yeah, not to talk down on anybody because I firmly believe that anybody, if you want to, anybody can breed green tree pythons successfully. Not just keep them, breed them. However, not everybody's built for it. Not everybody has the personality that it takes. Like
There you
you
go.
you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the only way you're ever going to be successful.
Right? That's true in a
People
lot of things in life, though, man. For real, that's what it
people
takes to win.
they care them to death. You think you know what that animal wants, like with this a waterfall and dirt and like frigging guppies and bugs in like an
Dude,
no, dude. Puppy pad,
Say
like
it again
leave.
louder for the people in the back, please.
That's what they want. If money is the issue, you need to save up for a really nice enclosure, like a PVC enclosure with all the proper husbandry equipment inside of it. Don't just like go out and buy an Exoterra at a show and put a piece of grapevine and some cocoa husk on the bottom with a waterfall and think you're going to put a
Dude,
green tree python
I
in there.
put a 40-watt VE heat panel in it, a $200 freaking 2-channel VE thermostat, and I used a $18 tote from Walmart. And I insulated the outside with some extra styro panels. I cut my air holes, you
Mhm.
know, but I insulated it so it was not just heat escaping, so it wasn't erratic, so it was stabilized. I set my tote on its side when I constructed the whole thing, and my door, I took the lid off, but the lid faces my face laterally, and I took that
Mhm.
off, so I'm not coming in from above. But here you go, I mean, I bought a captive hatch. That was my first endeavor to make sure I could do it. It was 300 and a quarter. It wasn't a whole lot. It's gone smashing. It's a fantastic animal. But I took a $16 quart and put $300 worth of crap in it to put a $300 steak in it. But it
Yeah.
was a $16 quart or $16, a very basic tote. And so you don't have to have all the glitz and the glamour, but you need the right equipment. And people don't always.
Is he gone?
what you know what it is? He gets on his good. This is brother Phil. Okay, he's over there preaching the gospel to us, and then it just pauses out. I don't know why. It's like
Is it well? If he's preaching, maybe is it because we're not saying amen?
I don't know. I mean, it's like there's a yeah.
Hallelujah, amen.
Amen.
Praise Jesus,
Raise the roof.
Lord Jesus. Yes, let's go.
I don't know. It's kind of weird why it keeps catching him.
Bring Brother Phil back, please.
Dude,
There he is.
I
Brother
have
Phil, you're
I have fiber
Hey!
optic AT&T. That internet is wired to my PC tower. I'm not over here cutting corners. I mean, it is directly, physically plugged in like it was 15 years ago, and it's fiber optic, ran to the house from the pole. I don't know what the F my deal is, but I'm trying to remain calm and solve my problems remotely as best I can. But on that note, to help wrap up this show before I cause any bigger of a train wreck on our first night, let's do some screen feed and take a look at Pumpkin Spice and some of your animals on Instagram. If you want to tell us about them a little bit, you want
Yeah.
to?
Heck yeah, man. This is I don't know. I feel weird showing it off, but I just love sharing it. Like I don't want to show off. I don't want anyone to think I'm showing off. Like I just love sharing them with you because I'm so effing excited myself. I'm like, oh, look at this. Look at the color it is now.
There you go.
Ah,
Maybe widescreen. Did you screenshot that? I'm gonna see.
No, it's just pulled up on a tab. It's just pulled up on a tab right now.
I could send it to you differently right now. I got all the pictures ready to go.
It's just pulled up on one of my tabs, but we could also go here. Let's see. Let's remove that one. And let's stop that a second. And let's see if I can do.
Do it.
Yeah, pumpkin spice is special. By the way, all of I will name all of my animals as you bring them up. You're more than welcome to laugh. I do because my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old have named every single one of my snakes. So I got some pretty silly names. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see the blue dorsal in that one because it's. I mean, maybe others can see it a little bit better than me. But that's pumpkin spice. That is a Maniquari cross with a Biak. There was a red neonate, and it's just kind of funky, man. It's doing all kinds of weird, funny stuff. The
Dude,
parent,
that's nice though. I mean,
thanks. The
Pumpkin
parent,
spice seems to be like one of your favorites, though. Am I wrong?
yeah. Pumpkin spice is. I don't want to say my favorite, but it's hard to beat pumpkin spice. So click on the very first reel, like the last one I uploaded. If you can get that to pop up.
It's still kind of small, and I haven't figured out everything. I tell you, I would like to drop these comments off so we could see the picture better, but I never access my IG from desktop, so it's a little bit anticlimactic.
Are you on my Instagram as we speak? Like if I
Yeah,
go down. Try that one to the left. That's pumpkin spice. A little bit older, but it's got
oh
all this
yeah.
black speckling, yellow diamonds, but like I don't know, like from the neck to like 2/3 down the way, the body is like changing with yellow diamonds and blue dorsal and green coming in. But then like the last like 20% of the body's like still orange, like still reddish with like a faded more dorsal. It's almost like the back of the snake's changing slower than the front of the snake.
hey, that's better.
Yeah, I mean it's got the blues are really coming in on the dorsal now. It just kind of popped the last week or so. Um, that's what I wanted to create, but I didn't know exactly what it looked like other than I wanted it to have a blue dorsal, and that's just kind of really coming in now. So that's like real rewarding to have the blue dorsals coming in. Um, Above it was its sibling. That's Scarecrow. Oh, that's Uncle Donald.
Uncle Donald.
Uncle Donald. There we go.
My
Uncle
kids
Invite
named
Donald, I
Uncle
love
Donald
it.
to the barbecue, guys.
yeah, my kids named that Uncle Donald because I put the YMCA song on it, so they started doing the arm pump and stuff like that.
That's funny.
That's got a
Oh,
really
here, you
cool.
see, I'm thinking Donald Duck. You're talking about a different Donald.
yeah.
All right, never mind.
Who's at that Squish Yellow? That's a
Squish
female.
Yellow.
Yeah, instead of Squish Mallow, it's Squish Yellow. That is a female imported Biak that was a red neonate, and she has a real nice black outline on the diamonds of the dorsal.
Oh yeah, I like her.
Yeah, she's nice. I want to I'm gonna fit
Oh,
her into the Maniac project.
Oh
that
yeah.
would be a win. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and then above, if you go up a little bit, right,
Yeah.
up one more to the right, all the way up, down, two more, right there. That's the female that came in with her. That one's called that's Zoe. So that's also another red neonate Biak. But she's looks like she's holding on to some pretty cool like whites on her dorsal diamonds. Hopefully they don't
Yeah.
disappear. But I the only thing I cared about with those two is that they held on to some yellow.
Hey,
That's my
tell me this, and this is something I still struggle with. So
mhm,
you said this is a red neonate Biak.
mhm.
I myself would be guilty of it. How is this not a yellow neonate? Like, what the heck?
Okay, so focus on the dorsal pattern. So on Biox, it's different. Okay, it's a lot. Um,
Okay, buckle up, baby.
so that is a Biak, which is the subspecies Morelia azurea. They have both red neonates and yellow neonates. They are that is clearly a red neonate because of the guitar picked shaped dorsal. Now, the yellow Biox will typically have like these little zigzags or little like lightning bolts that won't.
Oh, and mine sure did, as you described that, mine did. Can I
Yeah.
Let me see. Hang on a second.
I could, if I could see the dorsal, I could most likely tell you what locality it was and what color it was. Like of even your animals, but you could go through all my. I know what all my animals were, other than
Was
one.
that one that would? This is the zigzag you're talking about, yeah?
No, no, no. So those are they're
See, I
not
know
Biox.
nothing.
They're Maniquari. That's actually the clutch you're getting a baby from. That's
Yeah.
Maniquari cross with a Roo. That's my holdback right there. Number 12 was my holdback.
You're letting him get one of those for real?
Yes, sir.
No, we got to talk about that.
Yes, sir.
Dude,
If you
that is
want to
so
see,
awesome.
I'll show you the parents. The parents are pretty impressive.
Let's do that.
So if you go down, down,
Oh,
down,
I know
down,
mom and dad.
there you go. So there's mom.
Look at
Yeah.
mom.
Now
God,
that
she's
is
a
that is
stunner.
hormonal. That is a hormonal blue.
Right.
She was not that blue her whole life. However, she did have a really nice blue. She is she is in a roux. A Morelia viridis is the scientific name. She is the southern subspecies, the second largest subspecies. The first largest subspecies is Azuria, which would be the Biox. Um, but that animal was very much lime green with some really nice thick blue laterals going down the back, and then had some real nice belly blues going on. But through the two clutches, this clutch she really went like straight hormonal. It was
Has
it's
she?
impressive.
You had, and when we spoke about that, when that clutch was first laid and you were starting to incubate, that was in September, I believe. Yeah, no, something like that. August.
They hatched on September 14th.
They hatched on September. Did she were suspecting she might hold on a little bit more of her hormonal blue this time round? Has she done that for you, or has she
Yeah,
reverted back?
she lost a little bit, but if you go up to the left, oh yeah, okay, there that's the clutch, that's the pair.
There's Dad. I can't wait to get one of these babies, dude. I got fucking cubes behind me. I am ready to go. I cannot wait. That dad is stunner too.
So when I say she's hormonal, that's because it's not necessarily genetically inheritable to the males. I would probably guess that the females could or be very likely to go hormonal through
Well,
age,
his dorsal though.
but
God.
but the male's dorsal, those blues,
Yes.
they are 100% have the possibility of being inherited by any sex of those animals.
That's what I'm talking about.
He
Yeah.
is he looks fake in person. He is so freaking cool, man. I love that animal. He's a stud breeder, eats through breeding, would lock up with a piece of rope, and is
Ha!
fertile. He gave me 28 babies last year, man.
God.
He sired both my clutches last year, and he's siring a third right now.
Nice.
I have the Maniac repeat that produced Scarecrow and Pumpkin Spice and Uncle Donald together as we speak. So if you go, move your cursor left and go up. There you go. That's her full of 21 eggs right before she laid.
Okay.
She was effing blue, man. And I put the leaves behind her on purpose so people can see that, like, there's no tailoring. You see the color of my skin. You see the color of the manzanita wood bark. Like, I don't mess with photos. I mess with shade and lighting. And I'll even give different, like, I have videos where I go in direct sunlight and then go right into the shade and say, this is what it looks like both ways, so that people aren't like, I'm not putting up a highlight reel. Like, I'm showing realistically what people
It's
are
no
going to buy.
filter with the duck lips on, like, it's not a TikTok filter, is what
No.
you're saying.
Okay, so
Right.
there's a really, if you go go down. Okay, so that's Dad. Go up to.
This one?
No, next one up. That's Dad.
Right.
That's a bigger picture of him.
See, Dredd, don't you wish you got in? I think Ryan's in on this clutch too, isn't he?
Ryan does have one from this clutch, yeah.
Yep,
Oh, he's
Ryan's
getting,
in this
Don't
clutch.
rub it in.
Krista, I'm wearing her shirt right now, Narrowfly Exotics. She's getting one. I'm getting one.
you can go to the blown up photo of Deep Blue. I'll show you so if you go that's the outside one when she still had eggs there. That was the bluest she ever was, and she looked fake, dude.
Look at the
Dude,
blue
that
on
is
her
awesome.
dorsal diamonds. I mean, they are like
That-
almost a royal blue pastel. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that blue was always there. She always had the laterals and the belly blues, but then her whole body went, and then the laterals kind of changed.
Huh.
And then you can see her indoors. That picture and the indoor picture to the right of that are like within 24 hours of each other. So that's indoor,
What?
but you could still see the blue, but that's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
shitty indoor lighting.
Wow. That is incredible.
She is a really nice. She's my biggest animal. She's probably 900 to 1,000 grams.
Dude, I'm
She
excited. Yeah, I like a big snake. I want to see him sizable.
And then you could look. There's some of the red babies. If you go all the way to the left and down one, yeah, that one was real. Nope, up one. Oh, so that's pumpkin spice as a baby. He was. It was
Really
dark. Yeah,
dark.
dark. And then the siblings right above that, the identical, like.
And that
But look,
color is fake as hell, bro.
and it's not like the tail was purple, like good lighting, stuff like that. I think Instagram like messes with the photos sometimes, and I think I mentioned on one of my photos like it doesn't look this cool in
Candy red.
person.
It's like candy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, so my favorite Neo is down further. Um, Candy red. That one down. That was my favorite Neo.
This one?
Yeah, I think that's a real. Try that one. Yup, that was my favorite Neo. It was just fire engine red with these bright white shark, like sharp shark teeth dorsal.
And a great black outlining on each of them too, man. That's just
Yeah, it
telling you.
is.
Hey, speaking of which, and picking out Neos and comparing adults, what do you look for? What would you tell somebody? I mean, I know some of the answers, but for anyone watching, what do you look for when you're going to pick out a Neo and you're hoping for? They say I want an adult that looks like X or looks like Y. What do you tell them to look for? What are some signs when they're looking at Neos?
Pick whatever you like. There's a million. They're like Barbie dolls. Like
Look
they
at
come in all
her.
different. Ah, there's one of my little girls. They're so cute. I try to use my daughters as a platform on just telling people that they're not evil. That's always like my hashtag. My girls hold majority of my animals. They're all over my page, holding babies, holding adults. That is Elsa. That's one of the ones behind me. That's a female Mataquari that I'm going to be pairing later on this year. Giving her a shot. I've had her for a couple years now, and she's got a really decent dorsal on her. Good size to her now. She's ready to go. She's a beast of a feeder. I just haven't quite decided what I want to do with her yet or who's going to go to her. Maybe Yellow Snow, but it would be all yellow maniacs. But the thing is, he's so extreme and she's got those blues.
Did you say Yellow Snow?
Yeah, that's what my kids
He
named
did.
it. Yellow Snow. That one's up a little bit higher. If you go slow up my page, go up, 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 keep on going. Keep on going. It's past the clutch. It's going to be on the very left hand side. It's a green snake with like all this yellow pixelation. There you go to the left. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's an adult male. That's the only one I don't know the neonate color. I believe it was a yellow. I just saw the animal on Dan Malier's YouTube channel and there's some Biak parade. And I said, if that thing's still available, I don't care how much it is. I'm going to buy it. And I was drinking and it was available. And I had already talked to Dan and I wasn't going to inconvenience him without buying it. So I bought it. So that is going to be, I'm going to see if I can take that Biak to something this year. I just don't know quite what, but I couldn't pass the opportunity to have an animal with that much yellow on it. And it's got a blue face on it. And if you can't really see it in the video, but the dorsal in natural light is a wash of blue, which is I think kind of hard to find with Biak. So
It
it's just an exceptional animal, and it was just something I had to have. I kind of let you know my personal interest get in the way of like what I should have actually bought. Oh, go to the left right there. Oh,
Look
okay.
at
So
all them.
that's all
Man,
the Neos from this year.
that's a lot of work there. Whew.
Yeah, that's a lot of poop. And then the one just to the right of that was pumpkin spice starting to go through the color change, but was just black.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it was like Darth Maul, like just black and red. It was neat looking, man. I have a Halloween reel a little bit higher or right around the same that one right there to the left, down one. Try that. Is that the two? Is that pumpkin spice and scarecrow? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pumpkin spice and scarecrow on
It looks
Halloween.
like a spider on his back of her head.
Yeah, they were looking sick. Just a lot of black flecking on them. But I mean, it's kind of disappearing now. I think it was just. I don't think they're going to hold on to any black. I'd be really excited if they did, but I don't expect it. The parents didn't have that. The dad is named Christoph. The dad is the same dad as yours.
Okay.
So they're basic. I guess they're half siblings to the
Right.
one that you have, and then the mom is my female Biak with a lot of yellow splotching. Her name is Waffle. I told you they're gonna get funny. The names.
Oh, the kids, you gotta love it.
That's just some follicular development of my female, teetering a little bit, all swollen up and stuff.
Right.
Let's
All
see.
right, Chuck. Well, I love your page. There's full of eye candy. You can never stop. I mean, there's just so much great content on there.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Doing
It's
promos for you was freaking easy, dude. I just had to kind of pick and choose and then try to be creative because you had so much content. You can't go wrong. Whether you got your adorable daughters or your animals or your comedy or your chondro friends, like you had stuff to pick from for days. So thanks for making my promo job easy. I do appreciate that.
Nah, I appreciate y'all having me on and invite me. It's very flattering when I get invited on other people's shows. The fact that I think I talk enough on my podcast. I hate sitting in front of the camera there. So
Dude,
I think
I love your show straight up. I really, really do. And thanks for being a guinea pig tonight. Like I said, this is like our 27th or 28th show in general, Dread, since July.
Yeah.
But our first one on YouTube. So we had obviously, clearly, a couple of technical issues. The worst part is I don't know the solution, but the best part is we worked through it and we fought through, man, and we found a way. And Dread pulled me up, man. So that's what we're talking about.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on. And I'm sorry if I ramble. I don't like watch my episodes because I don't like sitting in front of a camera because I think I sound stupid when I'm in front of a camera. I hate my voice. And I think sometimes I say stupid shit because I can't get what's in here like out.
No, dude, that's how we like just roll with it. Right?
It makes good content,
it's
dude. It makes
organic
you
with
real.
us.
It makes you approachable. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough because I make it. My father always taught me you're only as good as your name. You only got one name. So I never want to give out bad information, and I never want to like represent myself as someone that I'm not. So it's hard to be really truthful with people, but deliver it in the right way, if that makes any sense. Because like, you can answer the
Yes.
question. You know what you think is true to about 99%, but you don't want to put that out there that you're 100% for one thing or not. So I always try to give the basically the theoretical logic behind why I think that that's not 100% correct. So I think like I said, I kind of just ramble and I think I have weird theories and stuff, but I don't know. I just like trying new things and figuring out why things do what they do and why things work and the most efficient ways to do certain jobs rather than the old way that we're doing it. I try to innovate. Have you guys ever seen the shot glass that I use to hatch a baby?
I remember the shot glass story, and now you won't go without one in the corner of your egg box.
Yeah. So what happened was
your incubation box.
Yeah, my first clutch, I had a baby come out about the third quarter of the way and started doing this weird jerky motion, and I didn't know what to look for. It was my first clutch, and it died. And I cut it open, and it was tied up in the umbilical cord. And I said, "Well, I'll never do that again. I'll just cut it out." And I was like, "All right, now that I'm going to cut it out, what the hell am I going to put it in after I'm done?" So I figured the best possible scenario would be a sterile, weighted object that was similar to the size of an egg. So I did it with the Maniacs. I cut out a yellow baby because it looked like it was stuck. And I was like, I'm not going to let you die. I only got 90 of these guys left. And it wasn't stuck. It was a huge yolk sac. And I now just cut this healthy snake that may not have been stuck in the egg, but it was doing the similar motion. So maybe there was something, I don't know. Maybe I did save it, but I'm just going to chalk it up as I didn't. And I misread it. But I had a foolproof plan behind it. I just took. I watched all kinds of videos. They like grew a chicken. They cracked a brand new chicken egg inside of a baggie and then incubated it, and the whole thing hatched. It was just sitting in a plastic bag, just like suspended. And I'm like, that I can do that with a snake. if it's already a snake, it's not an egg anymore. It's a snake inside of an egg with a yolk sac attached to it. So I
Right.
just put the snake in the shot glass, and then I put a couple drops of distilled water in it. It soaked up the yolk for like 24 to 36 hours and perched, and now it lives in Texas, and it's a beast of a feeder in Brian Phillips' collection right now. He's the only one that
Dude,
got a
that's
Incredible.
maniac.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm always like just trying. I don't know, like I try new stuff with minimal risk unless it's a life or death situation for the snake.
Right.
Like
Right.
I drove a pair of feeding tongs through the neck of a snake when a pinky popped during an assist feed, literally.
Yeah.
And I weighed the snake. It was 8 grams when I poked a hole through its friggin' neck.
Wow.
And I held it down after I talked to my vet and with a tape measure so that it could be, weighted down so that I could stretch the animal out. And I super glued its neck shut and dried it with a hair dryer and held, this skin membrane off of the actual inner tissues of the neck. I made sure it moved freely. And that snake is crushing meals right now. Like it's alive. It's been like 2 months since I poked a hole in its
Dude,
neck.
you're hired. You're hired.
Like I don't know. I just
That is
like
crazy awesome.
maybe that's why Creature Python is so snooty because I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, no, I
We
mean,
just try crazy
no, you're
shit.
just trying to do stuff and figure it out. I mean, if it works, it works. You saved its life. It's eating. Do what you got to do. That's what we need to hear. Stuff like that. What people are doing because not everybody talks about that.
Well,
Sometimes
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, right? Because sometimes you're successful and sometimes you may not be. But how do you know what's going to work unless you don't try it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's happened multiple times, and everybody pisses their pants laughing about my wife. Like, I walked downstairs, and she was like, "You all right, man?" I'm like, "No, I just killed a snake." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I was trying to assist feed it a pinky. It popped. I was rushing, and I was like, it popped, and I like when it popped, the tongs moved. I said it went in the mouth, out the neck, poked a hole, pinky exploded, and I had to push the goo of the pinky out. I was like, it's gonna die." And she she says it all the time. She's like, "Save it, bitch." And I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Ah.
Jill. All right." So then I went upstairs. I'm like, "All right, my wife said save it. How do I save it now?" So I figured it out.
Well, let's see here. I was not gonna necessarily go into that, but you have gone into the story, so we may as well. Is this the real? Yes.
Oh, it's a good one. I made sure that snake was on its eating on its own and stuff, but that was I kept that snake. And that snake's one of the least impressive patterns out of the whole clutch, but I kept it because I mean that means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like that I saved that little sucker. If you restart it, can you like slide it? Because you got to see the first hole. The hole is ridiculously large.
Let's see. Well, I don't go off my desktop much at all. So on the phone, I could be a whiz and fix this in 2 seconds.
Yeah, this
But
is the healing process, and then I started to feed it very very small meals that were not even close to like
look at
sufficient
how clean that
meals.
ended up, man.
Oh, dude, it ended up great. It's see that little indent? That's all that was there, but I think the indent's actually gone now.
Wow.
But
Wow.
yeah, but that's it. But here, if it replays the reel, that's it now. But if it replays it, there you go. Look at that hole.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, it was bad, man. Like I thought it was going to die. I was really upset at myself. That really ruined my day. And then now that it's feeding, I'm like, dude, like I love you, you little. I don't know. I just want to keep him now. Like I feel so bad.
Excuse
But I think that's admirable, man. Like, and I think a lot of people, I mean, honestly, chondros are tough. I feel like a lot of people in the community do share their failures as much as their successes because they're both very valuable options on the table. Either one can happen. And so if we can learn from what went wrong and, go from there, then you can help save the next person from having the same heartache. So,
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. The way I look at it is if I don't want advice from anybody who's never made a mistake because they don't know how to answer any of my questions. That's just my personal opinion. Like failures are not failures; they're just speed bumps in our learning experiences. And if you don't capitalize on them and learn from them, then you're going to be a failure. You have to figure out how to make lemonade with the lemons that you were handed. So once I fix the problem and I have a solution and an answer to put out, I'd like to share that information. Say, hey, I effed up, but I did fix it. So number one, don't do this with an assist feed and a pinky and rush it. But if you do have a mishap, you can save it. And this is how I did it. It's not the only answer, but it's an option for somebody because everyone says it's just going to die. Like it's never going to heal.
And you proved them wrong.
I mean, thanks to my loving wife and her encouraging words.
There you go.
Fix it, bitch.
Fix it, bitch. Don't let it die. Go save it, bitch.
Dude, that's awesome. Hey, shout out to Jill. She's the real MVP there.
Oh, dude, I love my wife. My wife.
You always say that, man. It seems like you got a great relationship. You're always happy-go-lucky. You know, your wife's got your back. Your kids are beautiful and healthy. I mean, fuck, life is good, dude. You can't complain, and you don't. So that's awesome.
Yeah, she's good for me, man. She's my biggest critic and my biggest fan at the same time. I like it. She checks me all the time. I'm very
keeps your head inside that.
Yeah. She keeps my head inside this bald ass head that she friggin' created. I had hair when I met her.
Hey.
You blame her. Okay, all right.
We got to stick together,
the
bud.
Yeah, brother. Beautiful. That's what they say. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I need a haircut. Sorry, guys, to rub it in, but this luscious mane here gets in my way all the time.
Man, life's good. I'm married to my best friend, who I think's the hottest girl in the world, and she gave me 2 little direct, like, photocopies of her. So I'm in big trouble when they grow up because my little girls look just like her. They have her eyes. So,
dude, you got it. You got life. You got life by the cojones right now. Enjoy it, my friend.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. God has blessed me for sure. I'm, being able to, do what I do and have these animals and share them with everybody. And it's been my dream to, create these things and then just make everyone else like cool ass pets. And everyone's like, oh, you're selling so many of the second clutch. Like you said, it was for the people, but what if like half of them that you sell turn out to be straight blue? I was like, that's awesome. I would love to regret selling a snake to somebody.
Oh,
because you know how like that is the
it's just its own, aside from what you might miss out or being, oh, it's my holdback. Just think of the publicity it gets. People are then more excited about your productions and your projects because they're like, "Whoa, the next time I get me a Chuck animal."
We lost him again. I think he was giving me a compliment.
I think he was.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I just like everyone's like, oh man, what happens if they turn straight blue? Like, you know what? Then my customer hit the lottery, and
yeah, you hit the lottery. Dude.
I'm happy for them because those specific animals that anything I sell doesn't fit into my personal breeding plan. But I know a good friend of mine, Alex Warren, I want to give him a shout out, and another really good friend of mine, Michael Majoros. We're on a group chat, but Alex has this snake called Aquaberry, and it's just this Aru outcross that is just amazing. It doesn't have a solid blue dorsal, but has all this like war paint, just blue stripes everywhere. And like, I thought of this pairing. I'm like, I love that snake. I was like, this is the only chance I got at making one. But I picked the best one that I think will turn into that. And guess what? The other 17 that I'm letting go, other than the hole in the neck, dude, I hope they all turn into exactly what I tried to create. This way, someone has a chance at something that looks designer-ish for like entry-level price, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like just helping people out get cool-looking pets that they love that are the centerpiece of their living room. Like that makes me feel so good when my customers send me pictures of the snakes in their enclosures, and they are just unbelievable. And the setups and all that, and the fact that my snake that I created is like your favorite pet, like that's just so flattering. I don't know how to like handle that.
That makes it all worthwhile right there.
Hell yeah, dude. I love that. And the people that I meet, like I would have never met Phil if I hadn't done all this. Phil's, he reached out to purchase an animal, and now Phil's a great friend. Like, I mean, and we talk about chondros almost every single day. It's awesome.
Dude, super cool. What'd he say?
I think,
CPU doesn't recognize the
yeah,
camera.
it doesn't
He's
look like
done.
he's going to come back on.
It's
So
fine. Well, we can
if you
wrap
want,
this up anyway.
sounds good, brother.
On that note, man, you're welcome at the Dreadnought and Strictly Naughty Business Campfire any day of the week, anytime. You know that. Dude, excellent show. Loved it. Again, thank you for, helping us do this first episode on YouTube. And
I appreciate all having me.
you know
I
what I'm
really
saying?
do.
Right, popping our cherry on the YouTube today. This has been super cool. We appreciate it. Great, excellent show, guys. Everybody, thanks for coming through. Right, questions, comments. We appreciate the support. Y'all keep sharing it. Dude, Chill Chondros for the win. Right for the W today. I can't even do it. How do you do a W? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, for Chill Chondros for the W today. Let's do it, guys. 2025 makes snakes great again. Did you
Yes,
know
sir.
Did you know 2025 is the year of the snakes? Starts January 29th.
Yes, sir.
So there you go.
When's
All
it?
right, man. Yeah. I think he's taking us off live, so